This short video will show how to play the game Microbe Attack, or maybe it'll be called Phage This or something like that. We're not sure about the name yet. But for playing Microbe Attack, this is the initial board setup. What I've done, as it says in setup instructions, is I've placed 10 neutrophils, macrophages, 10 dendritic cells, and 10 neutrophils on the board. If you're playing with children, they can place them anywhere they want, but they have to get to the right site to fight the disease as quickly as possible. So I've done a sort of optimal arrangement depending on what disease we get. There are also then 3 bacteriophages, one in the nose, one in the mouth, and one in the stomach, and 6 killer T cells waiting in the bone marrow to be released. That's the way you start the game. There are then 4 piles of cards: the disease pile, the prevention cards, these are vaccines, the defenders cards, these allow you to put more defender cells on the board, and the treatment cards, like antibacterials and antivirals and things like that. In addition to that, for setup, I've got arranged all of the cells here for adding more to the game as we go on. And on the other side, all of the pathogens, bacteria, viruses, malaria, fungi, and cancer cells. There's only one disease at a time, so you can actually use just one set of 15 and reuse them, depending on how you have your game pieces. And then I have the dice and the flip. For determining whether it's a disease or a prevention, I use basically a die with 2 colors, red and green. The game will come provided with a flip coin, something like this, that you flip, and it'll either be red or green for deciding whether you get a new disease or whether you get a prevention card. All right, that's the basic setup of the board. And then when we start the game, the first thing to do is to roll this disease prevention and see whether you get a prevention card or a disease card to start the game. The entire game is a cooperative game. Everybody's one team. One person can play the game. I often will play it where I read everything and instruct everything and play with my grandson from when he was 3.5 years old. We would play this game, and he would just follow as I told him what to do, but then he did a lot of things that he wanted to do himself. It's up to you. All right, so I'm going to roll this and see whether we start with a disease or start with a prevention card. So I get a green. Green means I start with a prevention card, and the prevention card says, okay, we get a chickenpox vaccine. That means if we get a disease, chickenpox, we get a free win. We don't get it at all, because it says on the right-hand side, all. That means it wipes out all of the disease. We'll set that aside because we don't have any disease yet, but if we do get chickenpox, we get a free out for that. Let's roll it again. This time I got a disease. So now I get a new disease. I go to the disease pile. I pull up the new disease, and this disease is the flu. It says, put the flu in the stomach, the nose, the mouth, or the lungs. You can split it up if you want. You can put it all together, however you like. It says on the left, it says add 4 at the start, and then each turn it multiplies by adding 3. So let's start by adding 4 flu viruses, and let's put them in the stomach for simplicity. 4 viruses. And we put them in the stomach. Right here is the stomach. All right. Now, next thing we do is we draw a defender card, because the defender card says, okay, what do we get to add to the system? Wow, we are really lucky. We get an antibody. So that means an antibody for this turn, for this disease. It only works for one disease. This antibody card multiplies the effectiveness of whatever cells attack the disease by 2. So one macrophage, for example, will take out 2 viruses. Cool, cool, cool. So we're going to put that up here as part of our immune system so we know to do that. By the way, this says at the bottom here, the things that can kill the flu are killer T cells, macrophages, or a vaccine. We don't have a flu vaccine, so we go with that. Next thing we do is we roll one die to see how many, this is kind of tricky, it has 3 different parts. One die will tell us how many die we get to roll to move the pieces, and it'll also tell us whether we get a treatment or not. So let's roll it. It came out with a 4. So 4 means I get to roll 4 die, and because it's higher than 3, I get a treatment card, and the treatment card says an antibiotic. Now, antibiotic treatment isn't any good against viruses, but I can save this for later use when I do get a bacteria infection, or I can trade it in, and the next time I get a treatment card, get a different one. You can only have 1 treatment card at a time. The team can only have 1 treatment card at a time. Okay, so now I get to roll 4 die. I roll 4 die, and whoa, lucky roll. The total number of moves I get to make are 19. So I can move 19 spaces all together. Now, for younger kids, you might want to say you get to move 4 pieces, one of them 2 spaces, one of them 5, one of them 6, one of them 6. It's up to you how to break it out or to help them. But ideally, if you can count it all right, you get 19 moves. We should be able to wipe out this virus with 19 moves. But first, and here's a very important thing for the way we've designed this game. For this game, before any cells can go and attack the pathogen, the virus or the bacteria or whatever, a dendritic cell has to get there first. Now that's a little bit of a funny one. Dendritic cells are very funny. They're the important signalers in the immune system. They tell the rest of the immune system, wake up! And they particularly go, as you see up here in this diagram, they go to the dendritic cells when they get a virus, they go and show them to the T cells and the B cells, and that starts the process of making antibodies. So dendritic cells are very important signalers. The entire immune system is based on one part of the immune system signaling to another part, whether it be active, quiet, attack, even sending to another cell to say, kill, die because you're infected. All of these are done by signaling, which are little proteins called cytokines. They spread out or send to each other or inject into each other. Dendritic cells are our representation of that in the game. Dendritic cells are very important for signalers. They also actually can eat viruses and bacteria, but we're skipping that for this game. And they are not needed to call macrophages and neutrophils to the site. But in our game, we've simplified it so that first you have to get a signaler there, then it tells the rest of the immune system, wake up, and everybody comes running. So number 1, we have 2, I'll use the 2, and I'll take here's the closest neutrophil, dendritic cell, goes 1, 2 steps right to the stomach. So now it's in the stomach, now we can attack it, okay? Now, what can I attack? So that's the 2 gone. Now I can attack it. I can attack it with, as it says, either macrophages or killer T cells, and we don't have a vaccine. The killer T cells are way up here. They can go all the way down in there, but I also have macrophages here, that can go in and take them out, and I have antibodies, so 1 macrophage takes out two of the viruses. Whoa, lucky me, we're gonna get it out right away. So here, I'll just take 1 step. This macrophage jumps in here, takes out 2. When you take them out, you remove them from the board. Remove the 2 viruses and remove the macrophage. That's 2. And then I'm going to take this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, cells can only move through the blood to each other, okay? So that's important in this. Of course, in the real body, they move through the lymph system too, but that's too complicated for the game. So they can only move along the track of the blood. So that moves in here, it's got 2, it takes them out right away. Oops, I move these around. And we're all good. That vaccine, that virus is gone. Yay. And we have victory over one pathogen so far. The game is when we beat 5 pathogens, we win. This game is pretty easy to win the way we've set it up because it was designed for at least down to younger kids, families. We don't want it to be too scary. So it's fairly easy to beat them if you do the right things. All right, next thing now, next turn, roll again. And this time, let's see what we roll. We roll a green, another prevention card. Washing hands. Okay, washing hands, as I think we all know, is the most effective against preventing getting new viruses and bacteria. Wash your hands all the time. Anytime you've been somewhere, anytime you've been out, store or whatever. So washing hands is effective, but you have to keep redoing it. So it only is effective for one turn, but if you're lucky, it'll wipe out all. Now, here's the trick. You can get it, even with washing hands, you can still get a virus, but well, I'll show you how you're lucky. So now we'll roll it again. And now we have a new disease. The new disease is food poisoning, stomach food poisoning. So that we put 4 bacteria into the stomach, but we washed our hands. So in fact, the cook washed their hands first. So let's see whether that was good or not. We roll this same 2-sided die, and if it's green, all of them are wiped out. If it's red, not. It's red. So we did not wipe it out this time with washing hands, but it could have. But we keep it for each turn. Okay, so now we put in 4 stomach bacteria. And it can be wiped out by either a neutrophil, macrophages, or antibiotic. Antibiotic, hey, we have one of those. Here's our antibiotic. Oh, I should have gotten rid of after we use the antibodies, that goes back in the pack. But the antibiotic, we have one, and so that says it reduces the antibiotic by -3. Yay! So 3 of them get wiped out by the antibiotic right at the start. Oh, lucky us. Okay, now draw a new one of these cards, a new defender. And the defender says, add 3 new killer T cells. So the killer T cells are these. We get to add 3 new ones. When they come in new, they always go into anywhere in the bone marrow. So there are 4 places of bone marrow, 1, 2, 3, 4 places of bone marrow. And new killer T cells or macrophages or neutrophils can go there anytime because that's where they're made in the body. Then they have to move through the body to get to the disease. That's why the game gets a little harder as you go on because they aren't in the blood already. All right, now we roll 1 die and see how many new ones we get. 4. All right, so we're lucky. Well, we can't get a new treatment card because we already have a treatment. So we're doing that already, but we get to roll 4 die. And this is going to be easy. We only have to wipe out 1. Doesn't matter what number we get because here's a neutrophil right here. Neutrophils kill bacteria. 1, 2 steps, and it wipes out this bacteria. Yay! We defeated 2 diseases. And so you keep on going like that. That's how, and then this is done because we've already washed our hands once. The bacteria we've used, it goes away, and you start over with the next disease. We roll, we got a red again. The next disease is coronavirus, and it's a pretty nasty one. It starts with 7 in the lungs, and it multiplies by 6 every time. It's a tough one to beat. Anyway, there you go. You get the idea of the game. So far, the pathogens we were lucky, we wiped them out in the first turn. But usually that doesn't happen. It takes a couple of turns, and then I'll show you this time how the microbes multiply for each turn. So we have the new coronavirus here, and it starts with 7. I have 7. Let's put 3 in one lung and 4 in the other. It doesn't really matter. You can do it any way you want to, as long as they're in the lungs, because that's where this one goes. All right, so it starts with 7. And then I draw a defender card. It says I get 3 new macrophages. 3 new macrophages. They start in the bone marrow, of course. Another thing I didn't show yet in this video, and that is if you roll the die and you got a whole lot of extra numbers at the end of the turn and you wiped it out, use those extras to move these cells from the bone marrow into the circulatory system so they'll be closer to an infection when that happens. Okay, so we got that. So now we roll one die to see what it is, and it came out with a 2. So we don't get a treatment. It's below 4, so we don't get a treatment. 4, 5, and 6 get a treatment card. 1, 2, and 3 do not. 2, and we get to roll 2 die. So no treatment card. We roll 2 die, and that comes up with 7. Okay, 7. So first thing we have to do, of course, is there are no dendritic cells in the lungs, so we have to move one dendritic cell right away into the lungs, and now that'll send the signal out to the rest of the immune system, come and attack here, and that'll be good. Now, a little bit of a simplification here. There are 2 lungs. If you're attacking the same pathogen, once a dendritic cell gets to one site that has that infection in it, that disease in it, then that's okay. It's okay for the rest of the turns. So once a dendritic cell gets there, then the whole immune system is alerted and we're good to go. So now we've used 1 and we have 6 more to go. So 6, these are viruses. And so viruses, I need killer T cells, macrophages, or a vaccine. We don't have a vaccine, so killer T cells are macrophages. Here's a macrophage, boom, takes 1 and takes out 1, good. Here's another macrophage, 2, 3, takes out 1. 4, 5, 6, okay, that one's good. Okay, so I've used up my die rolls, and I still have 4 left, and now it's the next turn. The next turn starts, first of all, a turn with the disease already. A new turn with the disease starts right away with multiplying the disease. The coronavirus multiplies by +6. So I add 6 new viruses to the lungs. So you see how some of these can get out of hand fairly quickly. And then I proceed just as we've done in the previous scenes that you've seen. There's one more trick in the game. It's one of the best plays of the game. We've made the game so that if a neutrophil is combined with a T cell, they're twice as effective as the 2 of them. Even fighting viruses, because virus-infected cells, neutrophils will attack them if a T cell tells them to. And this is somewhat realistic because neutrophils are really kind of berserkers. Once they get really jazzed up, they go nuts and they start killing cells, and they can be dangerous. And T cells are cells that turn them on, that activate them and get them really, really going. So in this case, so we have the coronavirus, which is spread very rapidly. There are 7 coronavirus pieces in one lung and 3 in the other. And we've got a very nice roll here. So 2 6s, 3 6s, a 2, 5. But let's watch this. I'll make 1 6 and a 2 and move the neutrophil and the T cell in. And so the T cell goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1 6 I use, that's in. And the neutrophil is right here, so it just goes 1. So I'll use half of this 1. Now, 2 of them together take out 4 cells, contaminated cells. But look at this. We also have an antibody card. We drew the antibody card, and the antibody card doubles the effectiveness of the immune system. So this pair of T cell and neutrophil will actually take out eight contaminated cells. Boom, just like that. There's all 7 of those. There's only 7 there, so they took them out. But I can do the same thing on the other side. This neutrophil, which doesn't take out viruses by itself, gets in there, and then this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the same 6 and 1, gets the other one in there, and they take out all the other 3. Boom, just like that. We've cleared away in one big, wonderful play the coronavirus, and we win! Yay!